Hello everybody, this is Question Mark here. Once again, we are opening booster packs, set booster packs of Dominaria United. I'm still working on the first box, but I just wanted to point out something. In the first video, I opened this Rasputin the Oniromancer, which was the box topper. And since then, a lot of time has passed, and so unfortunately it has curled about this much, you know. And by a lot of time has passed, I mean a couple hours. So this thing, this rock and roller here, that can almost stand on edge, is a few hours old. So love that. Jeez. Okay. Well, despite that, we're going to continue. I got a second wind, and we're going to jump back into it. Of course, hopefully, once again, is the back of a card? I got something from the list. That's what that means. Also, I failed to mention before, there's a small chance, I think, in set boosters. Ooh, actually, hold on. I'll get back to that. This is the gold signed art card for Najal, the Stormrunner. So these, I've heard that these art cards are collected by some people, but the normal ones aren't really worth much. But the gold foil ones, or the foil gold signature ones, maybe are worth a little something. But what I was saying is that there's this whole Lost Legends promotion, where they apparently found a bunch of unopened booster packs of the original set Legends. And they've taken cards from it and included it in Dominaria United booster packs. But I think they're only in set and collector booster packs. I think that's what I remember hearing. And if that's the case, well, I've got set booster packs here. Now, I think they said 3% of boxes contain those cards. So the odds that mine contains one is very low, but it's not impossible. Also, tail swipe. Let's see. 1 green for an instant. Choose target creature you control and target creature you don't control. If you cast this spell during your main phase, the creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Then those creatures fight each other. So it is a fight spell, and those things are a little limited on how powerful they can really be. But it's a 1 mana fight spell that's an instant. And if you cast it at sorcery speed, you get a little boost. So is this good? Maybe. Maybe. If you have a commander that would really like to fight creatures in green, then yeah, maybe this is pretty good. It's one of the more efficient versions of what it does, for sure. So, cool. Here we go. Tear Asunder. This, honestly, I think is going to be a green-black staple. So I think, Crossing Grip is still better than this. But other than that, I think it's a real contender in a green-black deck, because for 2 mana, it's an instant, and you can exile target artifact or enchantment. I can't think of another green card that goes that hard. And then if you kick it for an extra colorless and a black, instead of just an artifact or enchantment, you can get any non-land permanent. So you can get a planeswalker, you can get a creature. So yeah, this seems good, and I genuinely may play it in some green-black decks that need another piece of removal. So, especially if I keep seeing indestructible enchantments and stuff like gods and things like that. I'm just going to skip past a few of these. Tori Dominant we saw before with that art. It's cool. Oh, here's a commander card. Activated Sleeper. Was this on my list of cards I was looking for? It might be. 2 and a black for a creature Phyrexian Shapeshifter. It's a flash creature with 0/0 power and toughness, so it's got to do something weird. You may have Activated Sleeper. Enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature card in a graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn, except it's a Phyrexian in addition to its other types. This is actually very similar to a card that I was designing after I heard about how sleeper agents like replace characters. in theory, they maybe are killing characters and then replacing them with like duplicates that are almost the same. And I thought of like a legendary creature that can only enter the battlefield when another creature has died, and that it would be a copy of that creature, but with like some slight change. And this is kind of that. Well, okay, I'm just going to set it aside. I was trying to remember if it goes in any particular deck I was working on. Oh, wow, another rare, and this one's cool. Urtai Resurrected. 2 blue-black for legendary creature Phyrexian Human Wizard. The type is a little smaller again. It's a 3/2 with flash. When Urtai Resurrected enters the battlefield, choose up to 1. Counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability, its controller draws a card. Or destroy another target creature or planeswalker, its controller draws a card. This seems just very versatile. Very good. So, I don't know what more to say about it, honestly. It just seems very good. We got a foil common. This is one that was used against me, and it was annoying, but probably not a great card. And then I think this is a card from the list. Benediction of Moons. One of the worst cards in Magic's history. Yeah. It's a sorcery where you can gain 1 life for each player. So, like, in normal game you gain 2, in Commander you gain 4. Ooh, haunt. When the creature Benediction of Moons haunts is put into a graveyard, you gain 1 life for each player. Woo. Why do they put garbage like this on the list? You can go back to my old videos talking about the list and opening set boosters from like a year ago. And I'm talking about how like cards from the list are supposed to be exciting, creative. There are special bonuses. Every 4 packs you get 1 bonus card. And it's going to be worth more than an ad or a token. It's a common from Guild Pact that sees no play in any format because it's completely worthless. They gave me freaking conspiracy cards that are not legal to play in any format. This art's pretty cool, though. By Dominic Mayer. I'm not familiar with him as an artist. Herloon Battle him. Okay. Just, like, why have you got to put extra garbage in my packs? This is like an insult. You know? You could bring back anything, and you brought back garbage. Anyway, Extinguish the Light shows Jaya Ballard dying. You know, an on-screen character death here. And, let's see, I believe she died fighting a Johnny on the mana rig. But yeah, 4 mana instant, destroy target creature or planeswalker. If its mana value was 3 or less, you gain 3 life. For a common, this is not bad. I mean, 4 mana is more than you want to spend on removal in Commander most of the time, unless it does something like very special. But destroying the creature at instant speed and gaining 3 life if it's small, that's not nothing. So is this playable in Commander? Not quite. But as a budget option, you know, it actually functions quite well. Enthrall to the Pit? I've never seen this card. 3 red sorcery. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature. It gains haste until end of turn. If this spell was kicked, sacrifice that creature at the beginning of the next end step. That's a big kicker for and then it dies. 3 mana for and then it dies? I would definitely knock that one down some. Plus, the first part of it is an overcosted threaten, and then the second part of it is just overcosted. So, personally, I might have made that kicker just 1 black. Because otherwise, I mean, it's a common, so I guess it's supposed to be bad. Bone Splinters. Oh, is this... Okay, this artist. Yeah, Jeremy Wilson is the artist, and let's get a real close look at that. That is neat. Okay, yeah, we've seen Bone Splinters before. This is a reprint. 1 black for a sorcery. As an additional cast to cost this spell, sacrifice a creature, destroy target creature. Not a bad card in some decks. Good in limited. Got another one of these dual lands. Phoenix Chick. I've heard good things about this one. You know, Magic players in Arizona rejoice, I guess. 1 mana for a 1/1 creature phoenix with flying and haste, and it can't block. Whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, you may pay red. If you do, return Phoenix Chick from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking with a +1/+1 counter on it. I think this card is super cool, and if I were playing Standard right now, I'd be trying to build a deck with 4 of these. Some kind of burn deck, that's usually what I'm about. So that seems solid for that. Outside of that, I don't know what it's good for in Commander. I think I heard there was a Phoenix Commander recently, but I've forgotten it. Anyway, Nishoba Brawler is another cat that only just slightly disappoints, only slightly comes in. Okay, once again, actually in Limited, it's probably great because you can play a 4-color deck or something, and then it's very strong. But when we were brainstorming the Commander cat deck, being a 2-mana 2/3 with Trample was not quite worth it. Uh-oh, it's Zaro Janin again, another cat in the same pack, and it's another one we've already determined is not that good. Coral Colony. Oh, so there's a Defender theme in this set, and I think the black one is actually good. And if you get some of these other ones to support it, then they can all be good. Otherwise, some great gifts for an Arcades the Strategist deck, which I used to have, but don't have any longer. Next, we've got Garna, Bloodfist of Keld, and she's great here too. So love the stained glass art. Yes! Defiler of Vigor. Okay, this is one of the cards I wanted most from this set. It's a 5-mana 6/6 Trampler, so above curved right off the bat. And then your green permanent spells can cost a green less if you pay 2 life. And whenever you cast a green permanent spell, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. It could have said target, and this would still be a great card, but it says each! So this is going in my Raga Draga Manadorks deck, and it's going to be one of the better cards in the deck. Because I'll be able to cast Manadorks for cheap to free, and when I do, they'll all get bigger, which is the point. So I'm setting this one aside because I'm absolutely 100% playing it in a deck. Baru Wormspeaker. I believe I already got a Baru Wormspeaker, but this one's foil. And it's from the Commander set. This is cool. I hope somebody wants this. I don't, but it's neat. Was that one pack? It takes me 12 minutes to open one pack. Not quite a minute per card, but geez. Or, wait, how many cards are in these packs again? Oh, I think I might have got another list card. They contain these cards. Includes a combination or 1 of 4 cards rarity, rare or higher. Art card, blah, 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 blah. List card. Wow. Okay, so this information really tries to spell out everything that comes in here. It's so complicated. Let me show you one that I didn't tear. Yeah, you can kind of read that. Traditional foil land replaces land card in 21%. Holy crap. Okay, yeah, don't worry about it. Anyway, Night of Dawn's Light, huh? Okay, cool. Mountain, fine. Haunted Mire. Orborg Repossession. Turn a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. You gain 2 life. The spell is kicked. Return another permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Seems alright. Tribute to Urborg. See, someone was asking, are there any of the Catmen from Urborg in this set? And there are, but they're not creature cards. They're in instants and stuff like this. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. If this spell was kicked, that creature gets an additional -1/-1 until end of turn for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. That seems pretty good. In the right deck. Meteorite. I hate it. I don't like it at all. Pilfer. I like it in large part because that's Tiny Bones. I don't know who the other guy is. But anyway, 2 mana, target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card. Not playable in Commander, really. Light Pile. This is the Defender that makes the Defender deck worth playing in Limited. Because 2 and a black and tap, each opponent loses X life, where X is the number of creatures with Defender you control. That's how you hurt them. Walking Bulwark. This is another Defender card. I don't know if I need to read all of them, but Defender gains haste, can attack as I didn't know Defender. Assigns combat damage equal to its toughness. Activate only as a sorcery. So, I mean, this card obviously seems great in the Defender deck and great in the Arcades, the Strategist deck. Another Defender. Oh, Wrath. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. Wrath is the Weatherlight Stalwart, right? So he's stalwart. What does that mean? They're like stubborn, right? They're someone who perseveres. So maybe everyone else left the Weatherlight except for him when it got corrupted. And then you look in the background, and there's all these Phyrexians. So he looks like he might be trying to protect the Weatherlight from them, but the Phyrexians don't seem much bothered, and he doesn't seem much bothered. So I think Wrath might be a traitor. Anyway. Chaotic Transformation. I mean, if you want a really big Chaos Warp, like a really big one. This is a really big Chaos Warp. I don't really care for it, but whatever. Toxic Abomination. 2 mana, 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, you lose 2 life. Okay, I don't like this card, but I like what it represents. Are those arms in its chest? Oh, I don't know what's going on in there. Some shrimp kind of thing. But what it represents to me is the willingness of wizards to return to an era where they'd make magic cards that have drawbacks on them. Because honestly, cards with drawbacks are interesting, especially if you can find a way to work around them. And you can always find a way to work around them if they're worth it. So they print a card that, like, that's great and that sucks. You can figure out a way. Anyway, the last card is a card from the list, and it's Wizard Class. And so this is from the ancient set, Adventures in the Forgotten Realm, from a long ago year of 2021. Or for 1 blue, you have no maximum hand size. Honestly, off to a great start. For 2 and a blue, when this class becomes level 2, draw 2 cards. That's not bad. I mean, Divinity on a card that's already doing something. And then for 4 and a blue, whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Okay, so I can imagine a deck that would actually want this. This is not garbage. It's probably not valuable, but it's not garbage. Alright, open that pack in half the time. Just by finding a little disdain for some of the cards. Okay, Najal again, but not signed. Garbage. Swamp. Charismatic Vanguard, don't like it. Elfame Worm, fine and limited. Scout the Wilderness. It's actually kind of alright, because you do search for a basic land and put it onto the battlefield. Tapped, sure, but whatever. So it's a little over cost for a rampant growth. And then, for an additional 2 mana, you get 2 soldiers. I mean, that's not bad. That's useful. Getting 1 soldier here would have been really underwhelming, but getting 2, that's fine. A construct where you can turn 1 mana of any color into 1 mana of any color, but only once a turn? Huh. Not the most exciting. Ellis Ilkor Sadistic Pilgrim. This card's cool. Have you wanted to build a black-white aristocrats deck with maybe some death and life gain going on? Well, this is the commander for you. Move over, Ailey. White and a black for legendary creature Phyrexian Core Cleric. Is Ailey a core? I don't think so. I think she was a vampire or something. Anyway, 2/2 for 2 with Death Touch. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. Whenever another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. So yeah, if you got a deck full of creatures entering the battlefield, dying, coming back all the time, this is a really good commander. Rona's Vortex. I quite like this card, or at least I liked it for limited. An instant for a blue, you return target creature or planeswalker you don't control to its owner's hand. So that's more or less unsummon. Instant still, 1 blue still. But if the spell was kicked, put that permanent on the bottom of its owner's library instead. Well, that's nasty. It's a mean thing to do to somebody. Do it. Rona, Sheoldred's Faithful. Okay. I actually heard Gavin Verhey, I think, say that if they didn't already have a character named this, they probably wouldn't have named a character Rona in 2022, not after the pandemic that we've had. But regardless, it's colorless, a blue and 2 black for a legendary creature human wizard. Note that she works for the Phyrexians, but is not Phyrexian, at least not in this art. Even though the lore video that I watched showed her with like a synthetic laser eye. So who knows on that front? Oh, there's a foot over there and somebody's head, and who knows. Anyway, a 3/4 for 4. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, each opponent loses 1 life. I like that. When you cast, you may cast Rona, Shieldred's Faithful, from your graveyard by discarding 2 cards in addition to paying its other costs. Not bad. I think this could be a fun build around. And you got an obvious payoff there, making your opponents lose life. That's quite good. Battlewing Mystic, we talked about before. It's underwhelming. Balmor, great. I'm glad that I got this guy, because I played him in the draft, and I really wanted to brainstorm a deck around him. I'm not certain that he's great, so I wanted to brainstorm it. Because when you cast red and a blue, for a legendary creature bird wizard, he's a flyer, and he's a 1/3. For 2. That's not bad. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain trample until end of turn. Trample in a red-blue deck is amazing. And the plan is, play every red and blue spell that makes creature tokens. Play all the red and blue instants and sorceries that make creature tokens. Play all the red and blue creatures and enchantments that when you cast an instant or sorcery spell make creature tokens. Your young pyromancers and stuff like that. And then that way, you basically just play a deck full of instants and sorceries. Your counter spells, your bounce spells, mostly instants, pretty much instants. And you try to get them almost all 1 and 2 mana. And then when you attack your opponent, they never know what you're going to do. You're attacking with like 5/1/1s and Balmor, and then you don't know, or they don't know, if you're going to hit them for 5, or you're going to hit them for 15 by casting like Opt and Peak. and then Lightning Bolt a blocker, and get even more damage in, and it's all got trample. There's just a lot of things you can do with this, and I think that could be fun, and it's a deck unlike any I currently have, and I'm glad that I got the stained glass one. Radha's Firebrand. This we also got in the draft, or the 2-headed giant sealed, and this was also really good. But it was really good because we got it out on turn 2 against limited decks. So a 2-mana 3/1 creature human warrior, whenever Radha Firebrand attacks, target creature defending player controls with power less than Radha's Firebrand's power can't block this turn. And Domain for a 5 and a red. Radha's Firebrand gets +2/+2 until end of turn. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each basic land type among lands you control. Activate only once each turn. We got to activate that a few times for very little mana, considering we often had a Domain of 4. It was usually 3, but sometimes 4. So that was a, good little boost. And then, a small creature can't block it every turn. That was usually enough to get through for damage. In Commander, I don't know that this has any use. It's a warrior. Maybe there's some warrior tribal stuff, but Najeela's kind of too good for her, I think. So I don't know, but I think it's a neat card. Oh, okay, we got a foil rare here in Aster, Bearer of Blades. So 2 red, white, legendary creature, human warrior. He's a 4/4 for 4. When Aster, Bearer of Blades, enters the battlefield, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may reveal an equipment or vehicle card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Equipment you control have equip 1, and vehicles you control have equip 1. So, this is interesting, because this guy, he provides you a little card advantage, of course, and he finds you whatever piece that you need. If you're an equipment deck, he finds you an equipment, probably. If you're a vehicle deck, he finds you a vehicle, probably. So, you get to use the mechanic that he has built in. If you're playing an equipment deck, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of competition. But he could certainly go in the 99, even if he's not the commander. But he's got a chance of maybe being a good commander. And if you're going for vehicles, he also could go in the 99 of like a Depala deck. But there isn't that much competition for a vehicle commander. Only like, 3? So, yeah, I think he's a pretty good card. He could see commander play. Not a ton, a little fringe, but could see some. And then, and a worm token, 4/4. Nice. I think Baru likes that. Okay. Next pack. I'm still hoping for the red Defiler. And in terms of value... Oh, I really want Shieldred. I haven't mentioned that yet. The new Shieldred is sick. Really, really good. Oh, the last time we see a Johnny looking normal. And at first I was like, was this when he was in disguise? But no. When he was... even when he was in disguise, his axe head was split on both ends. And that was like a little clue, I guess, that he was already corrupted. He had fought a battle and lost, and he came back Phyrexianized, completed. Got another one of these great islands, but not foil. Talarian Terror, I don't need to go into this, it's not that good. Automatic Librarian enters the battlefield, Scry 2, I don't know what you play that in. Timely Interference. I hear that there's a whole story about this nerd over here on the left with glasses, with his, like, weird alt-right haircut. I don't know. He has a name now. He was apparently in an older card or two without a name, and now he has one. But I guess he's, like, attacked by some Phyrexian, and then, like, this guy helps him. I don't know. Maybe there's a story about it I haven't read. But it seems like an interesting little tidbit of lore. Artillery Blast. So this is Magic the Gathering, huh? This isn't some Star Wars stuff here? This is Magic the Gathering? Okay. It's a decent card in Limited and not anywhere else. Fires of Victory, 2-mana instant. If this spell was kicked, draw a card. Fires of Victory deals damage to target creature or planeswalker equal to the number of cards in your hand. So, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious if this card is going to be good in your deck, and it might be. A 2-mana instant that does this is not bad in a red-blue Spellslinger deck. Hell, maybe it'll go in Balmora. But yeah, if you constantly have a huge number of cards in your hand, this might be good. Wingmantle Chaplain. I wasn't sure how good this would be, but I think it is actually pretty good in Limited once again. 4 mana for a 0/3, terrible. Defender, also bad. But when Wingmantle Chaplain enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 bird creature token with flying for each creature with Defender you control. Whenever another creature with Defender enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 bird creature token with flying. So it gets you coming and going. You already had a couple of Defenders, get this out, you get a bunch of birds. You play more Defenders after it, you get more birds. In my deck, I had one of the Defender, didn't draw it at the time, and it made 1 bird. And you know what? It was great, because I had pump spells, and I did all kinds of great stuff, and it stopped me from like a really nasty attack. So it overperformed. That said, it's only actually good in the Defender deck, like this guy. And like this guy. Oh! Well, hey, now I won't feel bad about trading the stained glass version of Queen All because I've got another one. Still not foil, but neat. Sulphurous Springs. Love to see it. I definitely play Sulphurous Springs in at least one deck that's just red-black. And the flavor on this, of course, the old school Sulphurous Springs shows like a little imp kind of demon guy, a devil person in the Sulphurous Springs. And you gotta wonder, is that dangerous? And now the answer we find later is yes. That looks like that character's skull. Who knows how long later. But good card. I think it's worth a few bucks too. And I get a foil Joint Exploration, which is not terribly exciting, but not that bad. And I get a card from the list, a very exciting, well, I guess it's technically uncommon, from Dominaria, the original back in 2018. Card I've already got like 7 of. It's like cancel, but if you have a wizard, it's Counterspell, which you can just play Counterspell and Commander, of course. And Counterspell is even like the 4th best Counterspell or something, so... Another card from the list that's not really exciting, really at all, honestly. I'm hoping that Wizards like ups their game with the list, and I know that there's good cards on the list, but there's more not. There's more not. Phyrexian token, cool. Whoop. Guardian New Benalia. I love the stained glass shields. Loved it in the last Dominaria, I loved it in this one. The mountain is so good. In my competitive EDH deck, it's a mono red deck, and I've got all snow mountains right now, in part because I've considered playing Scred, and in part because I maybe want people to think I'm playing Scred, because why else would we play all snow basics? But I didn't. I never actually put Scred in. So I might replace all the mountains with these, because I like them better. And then I'm not, like, having kind of an empty bluff for no reason. Spare Spinner is unremarkable to me. Bog Badger. It's neat that there's another Badger in Magic now. I mean, this is like the 3rd or 4th Badger ever. It's okay. Toxic Abomination. Not actually a good card, but, you know. Keep trying with drawbacks to make cards interesting. You just got to make them, you know, on bigger, powerful cards. More of these lands that are pretty good. Micromancer. I heard this might be good in CEDH, and I see it. I mean, you find a 1 mana value spell, but here's the problem. It's 4 mana. That's a lot. This didn't need to be a 2/2. If this was a 3 mana... Sorry, it didn't need to be a 3/3. If this was a 3 mana 2/2, then I think this card would be a staple in CEDH. It'd be going and getting Mental Misstep and Swan Song and stuff like that. High Tide, I don't know. Demonic Consultation all the time. Instead, I mean, it still might, but it's a little awkward, it's a little slow for that format. Runic Shot, I enjoyed quite a bit as a 1 mana destroy a creature spell. If the spell is kicked, scry 2. You know, it's a sorcery, sure, but I mean, for 1 mana, if it's important to you to get a 1 mana kill spell in white, like, you finally got one. It's actually kind of cool. Hey, then we got the other version of Urg, Spawn of Turg. And we can see him a little better here. I mean, okay, here's the weird thing. Right? How big is Urg? I always figured he was, maybe about the size of a big dog or maybe a small hippo or something, somewhere between there. I figured he weighed a couple 100 pounds, maybe like 200 pounds, something like that. Maybe he's even slightly bigger than a person, you know. Maybe he weighs like a ton and he's like the size of a full-size hippopotamus or a rhino. He could even be the size of an elephant, the biggest land mammal that exists on Earth. But let's look closely here at this art. That over there, I can't tell for sure if that's a bird or a bat. It seems to have like a spiky bit in the middle of its wings. But what the heck is that in its mouth? The same thing? I don't care if that's a bird or if that's a bat. That's probably 6 inches across at least, which means its mouth is like 5 feet across and its whole body is like more than twice as wide as that. So Turg might be 15 feet wide. This guy's a dinosaur. He's bigger than a Kavu. What the heck? I think that might be a little too small of a scale bird in his mouth there. We got another one of these defenders that is not worth talking about any further. Balmor is nice. Already talked about it, though. Oh, Llanowar Loamspeaker. I mentioned earlier, or possibly in the previous video, that I have a Ragadraga deck, and this is going straight into it. A 2-mana 1/3 that can tap for 1 mana of any color. Taps to make a land become a 3/3 elemental creature with haste until end of turn. It's still a land. Sure, you can activate only as a sorcery, but whatever. And one of the key things with Ragadraga, though, is that it says that creatures you control with mana abilities get +2/+2, and whenever a creature you control with a mana ability attacks, you untap it. Llanowar Loamspeaker, of course, has a mana ability, so it will be a 3/5 that untaps when it attacks and can tap for mana post-combat. But also, if you animate a land, it'll be a 5/5 that can attack, tap, untap, and then tap for mana again after combat. And this one's temporary, so your creature doesn't like die during your opponent's turn or something. So this card is really, really good in the Ragadraga deck. I'm definitely putting it in. However, it was also the Buy a Box promo, so I've already got a foil one with different art, and I'm going to be using that instead, so I didn't need to draw another one. Oh well. Foil Vine Shaper Prodigy, not terribly exciting, and a token. Okay. Look, on a lot of this stuff, I'm just trying to be real with you. I think that most content creators, if they, they probably open some comments and they just go like, whoop, 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 whoop. But me, I feel like I have a little bit of something to say about a lot of these cards. Except maybe this... Well, actually, I was about to say except maybe this Plains, but a couple of things. One, it looks like it's the Weatherlight having crashed. And a rainbow? Huh. Oh, I should have known. It's illustrated by Seb McKinnon. I didn't know if Wizards was working with him anymore. Has he ever apologized or anything? Look him up if you're not sure what I'm talking about here. He's, maybe one of the modern terms for it is problematic. I'm not sure if he's, like, totally canceled, but he's clearly still working for Wizards of the Coast, whereas Harold McNeil, Therese Nielsen, and Doug... Shoot, I can't remember the last one. But there's a third one who's, like, actually canceled and doesn't work for the company anymore. But Seb apparently does. So, I don't know. He said some stupid stuff, he did some stupid stuff, but I think that he could just friggin' apologize. And, you know, it would be okay, but hasn't done that as far as I know. Najal is cool. Oh, Electrostatic Infantry. This card is really cool. I definitely want to play it in some decks. Once again, I don't really have a Spellslinger deck, but I want to play like a red-blue Spellslinger deck. I also barely have any blue decks. So the problem, I guess, with Spellslinger decks is that they tend to kind of come out of nowhere, so a lot of times your opponents get surprised and then just die, or they win through some infinite combo, like, oh, see, I can tap this and then untap that and then tap that back, and then I cast a spell and then I bring it back, and then I do that 1,000 times, and I shuffle through my whole deck, and then I do it again. You end up with these like long, complicated turns, responding to everything. There's a lot of opponents that get annoyed by that kind of thing, so I don't prefer it, but this guy is just too cool. A 1/2 Trampler for 2 that gets a +1/+1 counter whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell. He could have gotten +1 and +1 until end of turn, and he'd be like, oh, you know, good in draft and stuff. But no, they give him a counter. Now he's a badass. So I'll play him when I build a deck like that. This card was pretty okay, but it's no... there's other skeletons that are better. We got another Wrath. Don't like him that much. Keldon Flame Sage. I remember not liking this one either. Look at the top X cards of your library, where X is its power. It's 2 to begin with. Exile an instant sorcery card for a moment. Yeah, this is like an awkward kind of Spellslinger deck. I mean, someone may prove me wrong on this one, but I'm not into it. Coalition Sky Knight has Enlist, and it's not very good. Wow. Was it... I think it was at the beginning of this pack. Hey, Happy Batty.
What?
Can you hear me?
What?
Oh, you probably weren't listening earlier. But at the beginning of this pack, I said I really wish I would open Shieldred.
Yeah?
Well, I opened the wrong Shieldred. I opened the old one.
Weird.
Yeah, which is really good, though. On the list.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah! So, finally I get a good card on the list, and boy, is it. Although, these packs, they feel like they're made in Japan. Are they made in Japan? It's weird that I can tell from feel. Made in Japan. There it is. Yes. So this card is actually, and all of these, are a little waxy on the back compared to a lot of other Magic cards. It's fine. It's just noticeably physically different. And I used to have more copies of Shieldred. I used to have like a pre-release foil and stuff. But glad to have a new one. This is actually sick pull. So, awesome. See, I'm not all negative. I'm not all negative. Look, it's okay for there to be lots of cards in here that I don't like. I hope that that's really what I want to express with a lot of this stuff, is that I know I've said, like, don't like this card, it's not for me, I hate this card and stuff. I do that partially in jest, just because, like, we're having a good time here, you know? I'm actually having a good time here opening these packs. And just like, you know, when you pull the handle on a slot machine, you're going to come up most of the time with, like, no, didn't like that, no, didn't like that, and then ding, 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 there's Shieldred. But also, every pack has cards that I do like and cards that I don't like. And just because that I don't like a card doesn't mean that it's bad. Negate's good. I don't like playing counterspells very much, but, Negate's good. Goblin Picker? What's he picking? 2 mana, 2/2, red, tap, discard a card, draw a card. That's actually pretty good. Colossal Growth. Played this in draft, or in sealed, I guess, and it was good in sealed. I don't think it's good in anything else. Splatter Goblin. 2 mana, 2/1. When it dies, target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Once again, probably good in draft. Also, some point they're going to make Phyrexian Tribal a thing. I think they just wanted to have more cards printed with Phyrexian in the text box before they do that, because there's like 150 cards that got errated to being Phyrexians not that long ago. And if you tried to reprint a lot of them, it would just like go off the page. Like one of my commanders, Xantia Sleeper Agent, is a legendary creature Phyrexian minion. And I don't know if that quite fits, but maybe if they shrink the text a little bit, it could fit. I actually really hope that they do reprint Xantia and have her up-to-date text on it, because they changed her ability slightly as well. Anyway, Aaron, we saw that before. Yeah, very sad. We have the stained glass version of it, though. 2 mana, 2/3 lifelink. If you kick it, you return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Seems good and limited. Balduvian Atrocity. I remember really liking this card. So let's see it. 2 and a black. Oh, come on, focus. There we go. Creature Phyrexian Berserker. It's a 2/3 for 3 with kicker for a red. It's got Menace, which already the default body underneath it is not bad at that point. When Balduvian Atrocity enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. I think that is great. This is the kind of thing that would kick a lot of ass in Standard in the past when I've seen things like it. So this could kick a lot of ass in Standard right now. In fact, you could even play these back to back. One Balduvian Atrocity dies, you go get another Balduvian Atrocity, kick it, and bring back the first one, you attack with it. Oh, okay. Never mind. I was thinking like when the one from the graveyard comes back, he'll trigger again. No, it says if it was kicked. But still. And it says sacrifice it. It doesn't exile it. A lot of cards these days that bring creatures back from the graveyard to the battlefield, if they are worried about being a little overpowered, when they die again, they'll get exiled. But not this one. So this card seems really good for Standard, but maybe that's it. We got another Stained Glass Tatiova, which is neat. Yes! We've got Stained Glass Braids. Awesome. Okay, colorless black for a legendary creature Nightmare. She's a 3/3. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. If you do, each opponent may sacrifice a permanent that shares a card type with it. For each opponent who doesn't, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card. I think this card's really good. I think this is actually a great successor to the original Braids, but with a modern design, with Commander in mind, with not being quite so brutal, but at the same time, if I sack a land, all of y'all gotta sack a land, and if you don't want to do that, that's fine. You'll lose 2 life and I'll draw a card. Doing that every turn, including the turn that you cast or at the beginning of your end step, seems pretty great. And if you go after artifacts, creatures, enchantments, lands, planeswalkers, that's every type of permanent. Doesn't count instants and sorceries, and like snow doesn't count. Tribal barely counts. But here's the thing. Why does it list artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker? Why doesn't it simply say you may sacrifice a permanent? It doesn't even need to say another permanent, because it says a creature, and that means you could sacrifice Braids if you wanted to. Why doesn't it say a permanent? It lists all the card types and then does it. And then it says each opponent may sacrifice a permanent that shares a card type with it. So if you sack an artifact creature, your opponents can sack an artifact or a creature. I see no reason why it needs to say that. Unless this is something like Tarmogoyf, where they mention Planeswalker in the card, and then the next set there's Planeswalkers for the very first time. This could be the reverse of that. They leave off a card type that maybe is about to exist. That said, there's very little logical space, I think, for a kind of permanent that isn't one of the kinds that we're already doing. So I mean, I find it hard to imagine. But I don't know, maybe they did. Otherwise, maybe they thought that they needed to list the types on there as a kind of like shorthand or a help, an assist to players who weren't sure what all the types were. But it doesn't matter what all the types are. Because if you can only sacrifice permanents you have, it's not like you have to name a permanent type. You only sacrifice the things you have. So how can you do it wrong? I don't know. I tried to ask this to a couple different people online. I tried to ask this to Mark Rosewater. He didn't answer my calls. He never answers my calls. Gavin Verhey didn't respond to my tweets. So, who knows? But it's still an awesome card, I think. And then we've got Urza Assembles the Titans, which is another card that I personally don't really love, but it's good and it's flavorful. First off, the art. Let's get in there. There's the Titans. These are the Planeswalkers that assisted Urza in taking down Phyrexia. You can see Lord Windgrace in there. You can see Freyalise in there. You can see Tevis Zat and a few others, including some whose names I've forgotten. I really hope that when we're doing like the Brothers' War or something like that, that we get to revisit them. Although lore-wise, it wouldn't make a ton of sense. I mean, okay, I'm maybe about to go off on a lore rant here. I apologize, because I'm I'm going to take up time doing that. But we never had Planeswalkers as Magic cards until the Lorwyn set. And the Lorwyn set took place right after Future Sight, which was the first time the Planeswalkers were referenced as a potential type. And in the lore, Dominaria was being torn apart by rifts in time and space and dimensions. And it only got sealed by a bunch of Planeswalkers, each sacrificing their spark in order to seal the portals. Some of them died from the process, some of them lived like Teferi. And in the case of Teferi specifically, he even got his spark back later, somehow. Like, I don't know. I don't know everything. But the point is that Planeswalkers before that event, called the Mending, were too powerful to represent in a Magic card. They're gods. Their matter is merely a manifestation of their mind. Urza can forget to blink, forget to breathe, forget to eat or drink, forget to move his lips when he speaks. He can forget to move his legs when he walks. He could look like anything or anyone if he wanted to, and if he just like put his mind to it, basically. Now, granted, he was maybe the most like detached from humanity out of most Planeswalkers, detached from his like physical self. He was most like in his own head, perhaps. But it's, I mean, they're essentially immortal. They're almost all-powerful because they are you. They are us. They can learn, how to cast any of these spells that we've been drawing here. They can learn the Thrill of Possibility or how to cast Aggressive Sabotage. So they're us. You can't possibly cast a spell that is your buddy. What if someone made a Magic card that was you, and when they cast it, you were in their game now, and you could then do all the things that you can do in Magic? That would be ridiculous. But after the Mending, Planeswalkers got powered down a lot in the lore. They are no longer immortal. They no longer have godlike power. Their bodies are no longer physical manifestations of their minds. Their bodies are bodies. So they can be killed. They do age. Slimefoot Survey. I actually may play this in my dinosaur deck because I like to play ramp spells that go get 2 lands out of my deck and put them on the battlefield. And it allows me to kind of stack the top of my deck, which is something that I want to do in the dinosaurs deck a lot. I want to find a dinosaur and then put it on top and then attack with Gashath. So yeah, I'll play test it. I'll consider it. Nayel, we already talked about that one before. Dragon Whelp is okay in Limited, once again. Cut Down, that's another card that depicts one of the Catmen of Urborg, but isn't a cat card. Ooh, got this in the sealed pool too, and never cast it. The only games where I had it in my hand, I didn't have double blue. But it's a 5 mana 3/3 with flying, legendary creature human knight. Once again, not representing the bird, I guess. Flying, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. I really love the idea of playing this and Balmora in the same deck. That was just making tokens and buffing them left and right. Never quite came together, but it could. It could. Oh! Hey! I've got 3 out of the 5 Defilers. I've arguably gotten the one that I wanted most. I'm still looking for the red one, though. Wait. No, I've gotten 4 out of 5 Defilers. I got the green one, I got the white one, here's the black one, and I got the blue one in foil in one of my first packs. I'm really looking for the red one, because I have a mono-red CEDH deck, and I want to brainstorm and playtest and see if it might be good there. If I can make my red spells closer to free, maybe even free, and get some extra bonus off of playing my permanent spells, because I have a Kiki-Jiki deck, right? And one of the main ways a Kiki-Jiki wins is by playing a 5-mana creature and another 5-mana creature being Kiki itself, and then you tap them and you go infinite. But you've got to spend like 10 mana all in one turn. Far from impossible, I do it, but the other way of doing it is to cast a 5-mana creature one turn, pass the turn, hope no one kills it, play the other one, and then you win. And that's really risky. So one thing that'll help, reducing those mana costs by a red each, being able to pay them for 2 life, which is irrelevant in the format, and also I think it like deals damage when you cast a red permanent spell, so it could be worth it, but I don't know. Anyway, 4 mana for a 4/4 Phyrexian Horror with Menace. By the way, people have been talking about, what is the Defiler of Flesh? Is it these guys with the black freaky arms? What about this Pegasus down here? Is the Pegasus part of it? Or are they grabbing a Pegasus in this? Because, like, are they combined right there? Either way, it doesn't have flying, so I think the Pegasus probably isn't part of it. But anyway, yeah, it makes your black spells cost less, kind of like Crick. You can pay 2 life for them. But whenever you cast a black permanent spell, target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains Menace until end of turn. Not bad, but one of the weaker ones, I think. Captain's Call, not a remarkable foil card to get here, and then I got a bird token. Okay. But yeah, all the Defilers have some real potential to them. The green one I think is far and away the strongest. Especially for my Raga deck, which is mostly green. Wow, okay, so we got some neat stuff here. First off, we've got this cool forest sign, but is that Seb? Oh, that looks like Seb's art too. Seb McKinnon. Okay, so Seb McKinnon was like literally my favorite artist before I found out that he engaged in a like anti-vax, anti-mask protest in Canada that also was attended by some Nazis, and he acts like he didn't know that the Nazis were there, and that's equivalent to saying that, you know, he doesn't believe what they believe, even though he was marching in the same like protest with them. Yeah, you would think it would be the simplest thing in the world to come out and say, I am not a Nazi, I do not like Nazis, in fact I think Nazis are bad, and had I known that there would be Nazis there, I would have tried to make them leave, but I didn't know, and that's what... So the apology would seem easy if he was a reasonable person. I tweeted at him directly on a couple of things. He responded to a couple of them, but not giving me a straight answer. I don't know what came of that. I mean, do I think he's a Nazi? I don't know. Probably not, but... I mean, and I think he's Canadian. But he's not opposed enough to Nazis, if you ask me. I mean... what's the old saying? I think I heard that it's like a German saying. If there are 9 men sitting at a table having dinner together, and the 10th one is a Nazi, then you got a table with 10 Nazis. So you don't let them get a foothold. I know that I just turned this video political and everything, but like, Really, Nazis are some of the worst people in the history of the planet. And if you identify with them, please unsubscribe. Please delete your account. Please, leave the community that got you into this. Go educate yourself. Talk to some people who are different from yourself. The world is different than you've been told. Anyway, this is a really cool planes. So, Flowstone Infusion was good and limited, probably bad everywhere else. Geothermal Bog, same. Well, I mean, it could have some use. This is kind of bad. Take Up the Shield. This card, I think, has some use. 2 mana instant, put up a +1/+1 counter on a target creature. It gains lifelink and indestructible until end of turn. Any white deck that really wants to protect its commander or plans on doing like board wipe, could just throw this on the commander, make it indestructible, and then bop somebody. And putting a +1/+1 counter, that's a permanent boost. 2 mana is about the least that you could ever hope to pay for this. I mean, you could hope to pay 1, but this does kind of a lot. I think you mostly want to wait for times where you can get at least 2, if not all 3 of its effects to matter the turn that you cast it. The indestructible, the +1/+1 counter, and the lifelink. But if you even get 2 of those effects, then I think it's kind of good. So, yeah. And imagine that art in foil. Oh, I can't wait. I hope I get one. Joda's Codex. If I remember right, this one absolutely embarrasses some of the tomes and stuff we used to have back in the day. 5 for an artifact with domain 5 and tap, draw a card. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each basic land type among lands you control. Yeah, so if this doesn't come built into the Painbow deck, this needs to go in the Painbow deck because, holy crap, it's a 5 mana artifact that if you have all the land types, just taps to draw a card. That's great. So there is a commander deck where it goes in. Oh yeah, I mentioned that when this set was fully previewed, I did some research. I searched through the set for certain kinds of cards, like any giants, and found that there was only one. I searched for any vampires. I found that there's only one. This is the only vampire in Dominaria United. Now, there's one other new one in the commander set, but they consider that separate. In any case, is this card good? Not terribly. Certainly not for my version of vampires, which is very, very low to the ground, very low mana cost stuff. Territorial Mauler, cool and limited. That's probably it. Vohar, Vidalian Desecrator. Talked about it before. Pretty good card. Bortuk Bone Rattle. We haven't talked about this one before. It's 4 black and a green for a legendary creature Troll Shaman. It's a 4/4 with domain. When Bortuk Bone Rattle enters the battlefield, if you cast it, choose target creature card in your graveyard. Return that card to the battlefield if its mana value is less than or equal to the number of basic land types among lands you control. Otherwise, put it into your hand. So, this is another 2-color legendary creature with a domain ability. So if you want to make it your commander, it's just bad. Also, it triggers when it enters the battlefield if you cast it. So no flickering, no resurrecting it, just casting it, and probably just from the command zone because it's not like green-red can easily return things to its hand, short from like 1 or 2 cards. So this card actually seems kind of bad, but maybe play it in some kind of Painbow thing, but honestly probably not. Oh, well that's interesting. Sarah Paragon. This is a mythic rare. 2 white for a creature angel. It's a 3/4 with flying, and I've heard a lot of good things about this one. Once during each of your turns, you may play a land from your graveyard or cast a permanent spell with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. If you do, it gains when this permanent is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, exile it, and you gain 2 life. Okay, so I haven't put in serious contemplation into this card yet, consideration. But, okay, here's a thought. Fetch lands. You play a fetch land, you sack it, you go get a plains. You play the fetch land over again, you sack it again, you go get a plains again, and you gain 2 life. Which is the amount of life that you paid to do the 2 fetches, probably. In like mono white or something, if you put in all the white fetches, and you happen to get the Sarah Paragon at some point, wow, that's pretty nifty. Now, if you have permanent spells with mana value 3 or less, which you do, yeah, this seems pretty good. 4 mana, 3/4 flyer with all that. seems pretty good. Although I think the people are mostly clamoring for it for like standard and stuff. But, you know, I'm very roughly speculating on standard, so I'm not going to really bother with that. But yeah, cool card to have found. And a foil Territorial Morrow, which I don't really care about. And a Worm Token. Alright. We've covered a lot of topics so far. So once again, every pack, you should get distracted less and less by new commons and stuff, because there won't be as many. Island, I've seen that card before. Radiant Grove. Okay. Oh, you know what? I've got a lot of cards that search for forests. You do too. Get one of these. You know? Why not? Enlist. Nothing else. Seems bad. Gaia's Might. This card's pretty good. 1 mana instant. It can do better than Giant Growth. Giant Growth is not really playable in Commander or anything, but I don't know. 5-color deck. This card I actually kind of don't like because -2/-2 is not very much. Putting a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control is not that much either. Tori Davenant, Fury Rider. We've already got a couple of her in the stained glass art. Knight of Dawn's Light. We've gotten like 2 of the art card, I think, for this. 2 mana, 2/2 first strike. If you would gain life, you gain that much life +1 instead. And for colorless and a white, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And there's no restriction on this one. So many activated abilities these days say, but only at sorcery speed, but only during your turn, only once a turn. This one has no such limitations and has a life gain bonus and first strike all in a 2 mana 2/2. This is going to see some play somewhere. Maybe it's Night Tribal, more likely it's life gain tribal. In the decks that gain 1 life a lot, this doubles it and is very cost effective. Oh, Ellis Ilkor Sadistic Pilgrim with the stained glass art. I keep forgetting the word stained glass for like a whole second. So yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to build a deck around this. I'm probably still not, but if I did, I'd use this version. I especially like the kind of Phyrexian symbol on her belly. Oh, and Rona got the stained glass. See, I forgot it again for a whole second. Stained glass version of her. That's cool. Oh, Shanid Sleeper's Scourge. So this is a commander deck card that's in the Mardu Legends Matter deck. It's the kind of backup commander besides Dihada. Let's see. A colorless, a red, a white, and a black for a legendary creature human knight. We saw a number of other human knights in this set. They're pretty good. 2/4 with menace. Other legendary creatures you control have menace. Whenever you play a legendary land or cast a legendary spell, you draw a card and lose 1 life. Honestly, this is quite good. Card advantage, evasion, boosting an army, stuff, and a strong theme. This seems like a pretty good commander, honestly. And a mythic rare. And I think in the actual commander deck, it's one of the foils. It's 100% foil. So this is one of those weird cases where the non-foil might actually end up being worth more. Who knows? Rivaz of the Claw, I think is the one who was in that library saving that nerd. So this is a reference to Zorillion of the Claw, who was a Viashino who summoned dragons from your hand, I believe, and then like gave them haste and then they died, so it was kind of a sneak attack thing for dragons. This one, instead of being mono-red, is red-black, and I hope of the Claw means that he's some kind of heir to Zorillion. Legendary creature Viashino Warlock, love that. For 3, it's a 3/3 with menace. It taps to add 2 mana in any combination of colors, but you spend this mana only to cast dragon creature spells. That seems pretty good right off the bat. Once during each of your turns, you may cast a dragon creature spell from your graveyard. That's great. Whenever you cast a dragon creature spell from your graveyard, it gains when this creature dies, exile it. Okay, that's a bit of a drawback. But this seems cool. You could build a dragon deck that is different from the Ur-Dragon. It's different from Myrim, and is still cool and good. Or you could put this in your Ur-Dragon deck, and it's not bad. So I like it. Then we got a foil Sacred Peaks, which isn't terribly interesting. And we got Flesh and Blood. Okay, we got a split card as the list card. I do like Fuse, but a lot of these split cards are underwhelming to me. 5 mana sorcery, exile target creature card from a graveyard. Put X +1/+1 counters on target creature where X is the power of the card you exiled. Blood, red and a green. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. Okay. I've never seen anyone cast this spell before in any format, and yet it doesn't look terrible. Not at all. I bet that I could see it in a Commander deck someday. That someone could play that, and I'd be like, what the heck? And I look at it, and then they do something pretty strong with it. And I'm like, that's pretty good. That won't be me. But someone could do it to me. Plains. Okay, and then, see, this is the guy. I think that's Rivax. Let's see here. I've got the card right here. Oh, yeah. 100% that's Rivax. Okay. Well, now we know. And knowing's half the battle. Feel free to finish that however you like. Vanquisher's Axe, I believe, is crap. It is crap, yes. Goblin Picker is not bad. Colossal Growth is underwhelming. Najal is cool, but that's like my fourth one, Jesus. Electrostatic Infantry, very cool. Slimefoot's Journey, okay, I've already got one, but it's not bad. Balduvian Atrocity is cool. Got another Urg! That's 3 Urgs. And 2 of them are in the stained glass style. Oh, okay. Some people are pronouncing it Maria, but like that's just a name that exists, and it's spelled differently when you meet someone named Maria. So I'm going with Maria, but then it sounds very similar to Emeria, which is a place in Zendikar. But whatever. Maria. Or Muria. Doesn't matter. Scholar of Antiquity. A colorless, a red and a green for a legendary creature, Elf Artificer. She's a 3/3. You can tap an untapped non-token artifact you control to add green. You can tap 2 untapped non-token artifacts you control to exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. Why fear Artifice, she says. Is it not also of this world? So she's like the first elf ever to go like, technology is actually cool. It's good. I'm not mad at the younger generation on their cell phones all the time. I think it's fine and good, actually. And I'm going to show you how to use a smartphone. That said, she's red-green Urza. She's probably busted as hell. They're going to be very strong in Commander, probably straight into CEDH, making a new deck that didn't exist before. Card's amazing and probably brutal, with some artifacts that like do terrible things to you when it's untapped, and then you can just tap it. So it does terrible things to your opponents and not to you. You know what I'm talking about. Moving on. Oh, I got a foil Deathbloom Gardener. Okay, well now it's going in the Raga Draga deck. Yeah, I'm a little like that. Dragon. Okay. That if I'm on the fence about putting a card in a deck and then I draw a foil one, I'm like, well, okay, I'm putting it in now. Of course I'm putting it in now. But part of the point of me playing cards in my decks is to go like, hey everybody at this table, look at this neat card that I got. And they're like, ooh. And then once that's worn off, I can cut it if it's not good. Oh, man. Swamp, Meteorite, don't like it. Sputter Goblin, Thrill of Possibility. I actually do play Thrill of Possibility in my Kiki Jiki Infinite Combo CEDH deck, but I don't want to play the... Well, actually, this has got a Goblin in the art, kind of. Dang it. Maybe I need to play this version. I just need a foil one, then. I'll buy a foil one for like a quarter or whatever. Neo, not that interesting. Dragon Whelp's kind of bad. Balduvian Berserker, I don't remember this one. It's got enlist, so it's bad. Baird, stained glass art, but not that impressive. Oh, we got a rare, and it's from the Commander set. Historian's Boon. 3 and a white for an enchantment. Whenever Historian's Boon or another non-token enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. Whenever the final chapter ability of a saga you control triggers, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying and vigilance. So this is a saga matters card in in... Okay, you know what? There are some cards that they list as being from the Commander set, which are genuinely in one of the two Commander decks. And then there's like a handful, maybe 8 or 10 more, that aren't there either, that are actually set booster pack exclusive cards. And I'm thinking this is one of those. Because this doesn't make sense in either of the Commander decks. I really hope it's not in either of the Commander decks. It would be bad in either of them, because this is like an Enchantment Matters, a Saga Matters card. But it's kind of neat that it exists. I'm not going to use it, but someone... Bingo! Bingo, bingo! That is all 5 Defilers in one box, and I got the red one, and now I get to test it out in my competitive deck. So it's 2 red for a 4/4 first striking, Phyrexian Kavu. Oh, it's a Kavu and a Phyrexian. That's super cool. It's a 4/4 first strike. Of course, you for every red permanent spell you cast, you can pay 2 life instead of one of its red mana. And whenever you cast a red permanent spell, Defiler of Instinct deals 1 damage to any target. You can kill Esper Sentinels. You can kill, I don't know, small things. You can deal damage to people's faces to soften them up before you go in for a big hit later. I can make a copy of this with Kiki Jiki, and then my permanent spells cost 2 mana less, and I get to do 2 damage for every spell that I cast. And I'm attacking with a 4/4 first striker. I think this has real potential. I know it's not like an instant for 1 mana that, like, you know, you have to discard your hand and then you win the game. But I'm going to try it. I'm really happy that I got it. I'm really stoked. People still use that word. Juniper Order Root Weaver is alright. But it's a foil. And I got a bird token. Okay, well, I gotta say, I think the only card that really comes to mind off the top of my head that I really want from this set that I haven't pulled is the new Shieldred. I really want the new Shieldred. It would be perfect in my Xancha deck because she says when you draw a card, you gain 2 life, and when an opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life, and it's a 4/4 for 4 with, I want to say, Menace. And if I put in Xancha, then that means, Xancha actually has a hard time with losing too much life and not being able to defend well enough. And so sometimes just rolls over and dies. But it helps my opponents draw extra cards, and then they lose more life. They take extra damage. It's really good there, I think. Battle Rage's Blessing. 2 mana instant. Target creature gains Death Touch and Indestructible until end of turn. I'm not sure if there's a card that's like strictly better than this, but there's a number of cards that are all 1 or 2 mana and can stop a creature from dying. Actually, you know what? We were brainstorming for a She-Ray deck a while back. We were trying to figure out what the best version of this is. And this is actually a top competitor because this would allow you to use Shieldred as a chump blocker, and it would kill the thing that it chump blocks. This would allow it to survive a board wipe where everything else dies, and then she brings everything else back. 2 mana is the most you want to pay for something like that because you don't want to look like you've got a response open. You don't want to be like keeping 5 mana open or something. So, might be quite good. Molten Monstrosity, good in Limited. Bite Down. This is another one that I'm considering for my dinosaurs. It's a little, like, it's not super exciting, I guess, because it's a colorless and a green for an instant. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. So it's like that fight card, but it's actually 1 mana more, and it doesn't give +1/+1 if you cast it at sorcery speed or something. So that seems bad. But the creature doesn't fight back. And considering my commander is a trampler, a lot of people do try to block it. This would potentially help get rid of some blockers without stacking up any damage on it before I go to combat. And biting down seems like something that a dinosaur would do for obvious reasons. So I'm considering it. Hero's Heirloom. I remember being disappointed by this. But let's see. 2 mana, artifact, equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+1. Okay. For 2, not bad. As long as equipped creature is legendary, it has trample and haste. Okay. Well, I don't know. Okay, it's not bad actually. It's not bad. There are probably some situations where that's playable. Warleech has kicker, enters the battlefield with those kicked mill 4 cards. Power type is equal to the highest mana value among cards in your graveyard. Okay, that's some potential, I suppose. Parade's Frightful Return, we've been over it. Sick art. Tura Kenneru, this is the normal art, not the stained glass version. See, it took me a second to remember the word stained glass again. I think this is the first time seeing the stained glass art for this card. It's pretty good. I got a little overexcited when I misread Urborg Lurgoy for the first time. It's still kind of good, though. Colorless and a green for a creature Lurgoyf. It's a star, 1+ star. It's got kicker for a blue and or a black. When it enters the battlefield, mill 3 cards for each time it was kicked. And its power is equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard, and its toughness is equal to that number plus 1. I mean, it actually does seem pretty good, though. But it's just a large body. But it also mills you in decks that care about self-mill. So, I don't know. I've never really built a deck like that, unless you count my elves, which I guess does, but I wouldn't play that in my elves. Oh, this one's just an ad. Okay. So, yeah, I don't know what to do with the Urborg Lurgoyf. I think it might be one of those cards that, like, has such potential, but never sees it realized. Oh, near the Alphamaya Coast. It's pretty. Yeah. Forest. Vishino Branch Rider, 1 for 1/1. Oh, this is another one that I remember thinking, if I was playing Standard, along with Phoenix Chick, I'd play this. It's a 1-mana 1/1 with haste. And if you kick it, it enters with 2+1/+1 counters. And the kicker cost is a little bit more than you'd hope, but not that much more. And for 2 and a red, you can give it +2/+0 until end of turn, whether or not you kicked it. So this is a dangerous card to come out on turn 1 or 2. So I like that. Talus Lookout. This is a throwback to the old Talus Pirates from way back in the day, from before Pirate was an official creature type. It's so-so, but it's a neat throwback. Not a great card. Flowstone Kavu, +1/-1, Menace. It's fine. Wrath. Hey, there's Wrath without the stained glass. Relic of Legends. Some people have been talking about this. I mean, some people say that 3-mana rocks are over. That we have grown beyond them. And for the most part, honestly, I think we have. We've certainly gotten over 3-mana rocks that just make mana. That just tap for, like, all your colors. You gotta do better than that. Or just tap for 1 color. You gotta do better than that. Well, this does better than that. You can tap an untapped legendary creature you control to add 1 mana of any color. So that Painbow deck, that 3-color Mardu Legends Matters decks, your Sisay decks, I don't know, your Calamax decks, your Godo decks. There are a lot of situations, I think, where you could reliably get out legendary creatures and tap them for additional mana. I'm just saying, this has got actually a little potential. It's better than Manalith. Founding the Third Path. 2 mana, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana value 1 or 2 from your hand without paying its mana cost. Oh, neat. Target player mills 4 cards, and then exile target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard, copy it, you may cast the copy. Note that it doesn't say without paying its mana cost. You do have to pay its mana cost. So, it's fine. Radha! There she is again, but with the stained glass art. See, now I'm shifting where I'm putting my paws. I'm going, but with the stained glass art instead of, but with the... So it's not as obvious that I'm not remembering what the word stained glass is. Rulik Mons also has the stained glass art, and this is my first time pulling one of these, and okay, I originally thought this guy was, like, really sick. As it stands right now, I'm happy that there's another red-green Goblin Commander that is decent. After the old Wart that we've been seeing since, like, Shadowmoor, that really cares about copying instant and sorcery spells, this is a Goblin that cares about goblins. Kind of. I mean, land cards. Whatever. Anyway, it's not bad. Temporal Firestorm is a rare, big, red sorcery with multiple kickers. Oh god, these tend to be disasters, honestly. Kicker of a colorless and a white and or colorless and a blue. Choose up to X target Up to X creatures and or planeswalkers you control, where X is the number of times the spell was kicked. Those permanents phase out. Temporal Firestorm deals 5 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. Oh yeah, that's right. Like 5 is just barely enough to be like worth considering for Commander, I think. Because still a lot of the biggest threats out there are a little bigger than that, including a lot of my commanders. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have a deck like that. I'm not going to build one. G2 Amplifier. We talked about this one before. Cool to get it in foil. It's a common that might see a little play. Ooh, a 2/1 Trample Haste Elemental token. That's neat. That's for the dude that has a Demonic Tutor built into him. Also, I'm coming up on an hour and a half pretty soon for the second video, too. God, am I not the slowest pack opener on YouTube? But I have a lot to say, and once again, I hope that you enjoy, walking patiently through this set with me. Although, once again, look at this. So I'm really examining these cards. I'm doing like a set deep dive. The lore, the flavor, the playability, the commander, I'm telling stories, history, references, So hopefully that's what you're here for, because that's what I got, and I'm going to keep bringing it. That's a neat drawbridge. Bortuk Bone Rattle. Talked about him, don't like him. Tatiova, Steward of Tides. Talked about him, do like him. Jin of the Fountain, undecided. Elvish Hydromancer, undecided. Not that excited, though. Oh, Bortuk, another Bortuk in the same pack. That's disappointing. The Phasing of Zalfir. I'm not sure what to make of this card, except I think you know what? Actually, I think this card's kind of good. I think this card's good. You can destroy all creatures. In blue. What does the rest of the text say? Does it matter? For each creature destroyed this way, its controller creates a 2/2 black Phyrexian creature token. Well, I mean, if you're playing against dinosaurs, you're playing against any kind of tribal deck, you're playing against dragons, angels, demons, giants, anything large, doing this makes them smaller. And even if they're roughly the same size, if they're elves or goblins or something, and they're all 2/2s-ish anyway, then making them not goblins and not elves and not have abilities is still good. And then when you're destroying all creatures, you know what's going to happen. You plan for it. Your deck, you've chosen this as a card that's good in your deck because you don't play that many creatures. Or you play lots of creatures, but they're like 0/1s and 1/1s that you get out for doing other things all the time. And it actually makes them bigger. Or you play it and then you play a threat. Or you play it and follow it up with something that deals 2 damage to everything. Or. Of course, you can also, that's reading ahead, you can just phase a non-land permanent out and phase another non-land permanent out. So you can save 1 or 2 important permanents by delaying it for a turn and letting everyone go, oh no, and then the world blows up, instead of just blowing the world up. But the option is yours. So I think this card is great. Argivian Phalanx, I think this card is not great. And that's a bird. Hey, you know what? I'm not going to put out 3 videos. I'm going to record the whole rest of this tonight. We're going to finish this. Kobolds of Karakeep. Love it. Best card in the pack. It's a token. Dadatha. Plains. Battlefly Swarm. Battleflies used to be a thing from the old Phyrexian invasion. Let's see here. A Phyrexian insect for 1 mana, 1/1 flying. It gains death touch until end of turn. Hey, I've been talking about getting that Zera, the Golden Sting or whatever, and it would be possibly an insect tribal card, or commander. So maybe I play that. Floriferous Vine Wall. A colorless and a green for a 0/2 plant wall with Defender. When it enters the battlefield with the top 6 cards of your library, you may reveal a land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Okay, this is a little weak on the fact that it's a 0/2, and obviously it's got Defenders, so it just buys you time, but it can buy you some time, and it can go get you a land. If you're playing a deck that likes to play additional lands from your hand, your Azusas, your Uros, I don't know, Omnath? Any deck like that, this could actually be good, especially if you have trouble in the early game, just Don't hit me for the first, like, 4 turns while I'm just playing things that let me play more lands, okay? Well, do this. There you go. Could have a use. Gibbering Barricade. 3 mana, 2/4 defender. 2 and a black. Sack a creature. You gain 1 life and draw a card. Ah, okay. The ability's a little overcosted, but I don't know. We talked about these defenders. They're not terribly exciting. Hurler Cyclops. I haven't seen this one yet. 5 mana, 5/4, 1. Sack another creature. It deals 1 damage to any target. Okay, so it's a bad goblin bombardment. I'm not necessarily here for it. Oh, Sprouting Goblin. I was recommending this one for Lord Windgrace. Colorless and a red for a 2/2. Once again, that's not bad. Off to a decent start. It's got kicker of just a green, and when it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, search your library for a land card with a basic land type, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So you can go get a Taiga. You can go get Stomping Ground. You can go get Cinderglade. You can go get one of these new crappy ones. You know, whatever. And for a red and tap and sack a land, draw a card. Of course, the Lord Windgrace deck is trying to put cards, or lands, from the graveyard onto the battlefield, from your hand into the graveyard, or from the top of the library into your hand, all these different places. Sprouting Goblin helps with all that, and draws you cards along the way, and is very cheap. So I think this card's great. Rulik Mons, the normal art version of it. Cool. Vohar, again, normal art version of it. Garna, again, the stained glass version of it. Ivy, cool. I'm glad to get this, because this is a very confusing card to me. I haven't decided what I want to do with it, if anything. It's interesting, though. Green and a blue for a legendary creature fairy rogue. It's a 2/1 with flying. Whenever a player casts a spell that targets only a single creature other than Ivy Gleeful Spell Thief, you may copy that spell. The copy targets Ivy. A copy of an aura spell becomes a token. So, how do you use this best? Your opponents, if they cast spells targeting only a single creature, in my experience in Commander, 80-90% of the time, that's removal. And you don't want to copy that to Ivy. That would be silly. Path to Exile. Ooh, me too. Swords. I don't know. Grasp of Fate? I wouldn't actually copy because it's not an aura. I don't know. Darksteel Mutation. Ew. So you can't rely on your opponents ever triggering this. If it would actually be good for you, they probably won't cast it. People aren't playing Giant Growth in Commander, but if there was a version of Giant Growth they'd play, they're not going to do it on your turn or in response to someone attacking you, so... I mean, 2/3 of the thing this deck could do probably will never do. So it's really going to be copying your own spells. It could copy your opponents maybe if they forget, but it's mostly going to be copying your own spells. But so you have to target a different creature, and then Ivy gets a copy of it. You could go Might of Oaks and then give 2 big boosts. You could go Colossification maybe, and get 2 really big boosts. Well, I'll tell you, my favorite thing that I've come up with so far, Vow of Wildness, Vow of Flight, Impetus of whatever the green and blue ones are. You enchant your opponent's creatures with these vows and these impetuses that make them bigger and give them abilities, but require them to attack someone other than you. And then you copy it to Ivy. That's an example of an aura that can function as pseudo-removal against your opponent's creatures and a boost for yours. So I think that's the perfect thing. Because you want to be playing removal in any deck, but Ivy, doesn't really lend itself to any of that. Her ability doesn't interact with removal. It's just kind of nothing. So that's the best I've come up with so far. Oh, and then the foil here is not terribly exciting to me, but the the Kobolds of Kirkheap token. Very happy to get. I've been making Kobold tokens for a long time. Mostly with the land Kirkheap to make a chump blocker. Ooh, we've got another list card. Come on, a good one, and not like another common that I've got 10 copies of from a set from 10 years ago that nobody plays. Okay, Swamp. Broken Wings, actually kind of a good card. Soaring Drake. It's okay. Griffin Protector. I might be building a Griffin deck soon. I was brainstorming it the other day, and there are like 2 good cards. So watch out. But also the new commander's kind of sick. Smash to Dust. Nobody else noticed this. I was the first one to upload this on Scryfall. This art is a reference to Phyrexian Colossus from 8th edition. The art in there has the spikes that go up and they go down, and it's neat. The original Phyrexian Colossus from back in, like, I don't remember, Alpha or whatever, doesn't look quite like this, but that one does, and it's a neat reference. We already talked about this card. We already talked about Phoenix Chick. It's cool. Neshoba Brawler, not quite there. Urtai's Scorn, not quite there. Aaron, neat. Leaf Crown Visionary, I forgot about this one. I totally want this for my elf deck. Is it any surprise? It gives elves you control +1/+1. It's a 2-mana lord. Whenever you cast an elf spell, you may pay a green if you do draw a card? Oh, obvious. Easy to include. You can't be surprised. I'm going to play that in my elf deck. Except I don't know how much longer I'm going to have an elf deck. The deck's a little boring, honestly. Krenko 10th Street Kingpin. Okay, I think I already have a copy of this card, but this card's actually kind of neat. The other Krenko is the really, really good one, but this one's pretty good too. I'm not going to get into it right now because, well, yes I am. 2 in a red, legendary creature goblin. 1/2, whenever Krenko 10th Street Kingpin attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it, then create a number of 1/1 red goblin creature tokens equal to Krenko's power. I mean, there's a lot of potential for doing good stuff here. So that's a cool one to pull. As far as I know, the card's like not valuable, maybe like $2 or something, because War of the Spark was printed in huge quantities. It sold quite well. Oh, there's Urte, struggling, still a real emo boy. Oh, foil planes, but not the right style. So far I've only got the one. Pixie. First kick, put 2 counters on it, target land. It's fine. I get excited anytime I see like 1 blue for a 1/1 with flying. And I'm like, could it go in ninjas? As kicker of a green. Nope, could not go in ninjas. Could not do that. Artillery Blast, Zaro Janin. Sad to see him. Twin Inferno, kind of cool. Oh, here's that Heirloom Battle Hymn. I couldn't remember what it did. 2 in a red for an instant with kicker white. Heirloom Battle Hymn deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If this spell was kicked, you gain 4 life. Gosh, how much will people pay for a Lightning Helix these days? 4? Rough. I mean, it's 1 more damage and 1 more life than Lightning Helix, but like you pay double the mana. Rough. Lagomos. Okay. Zaro Janin with the stained glass art again. Okay. Oh, Leyline Binding. Okay, let me remind myself what this does. 5 in a white, enchantment with flash. Domain, this spell costs 1 less to cast for each basic land type among lands you control. Oh, so it could cost as little as 1 for flash, and then when it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls until Leyline Binding leaves the battlefield. So this is literally an instant speed Oblivion Ring, but with the fixed text, so it's not like combo weirdness. That never costs 6. I mean, assuming that you have even 1 basic land type. It never costs 6. 5 mana, maybe. But in the decks you probably play this in, it could cost as little as 1 with flash and exile something. That's cool. Oh, okay. We got a foil Braids Arisen Nightmare here. I've talked about this card already. The lore, she fought in the Onslaught War and the Scourge War way back when against Corona, the false god. And I believe what happened to her is that, like most other minions of the Cabal, she was able to summon nightmares. But her nightmares were the nastiest out of anybody's nightmares, apparently. She had a much stronger, darker imagination, I guess. And something happened in the fight with Corona where her nightmares turned on her. And when they're fighting, you kind of open a portal to the nightmare realm and then let your monsters come out and fight your opponent. Her monsters turned on her and chased her back into the nightmare realm, and the portal sealed up behind her, and that was that. So most people assumed her dead, finally eaten by her own nightmares. That's a very, Disney movie way of a bad guy dying, I think. Like, oh, well, okay, they're gone for good. But then the sequel, the direct-to-DVD sequel, braids us back, and she is a nightmare now. So she became one with her nightmares somehow. And that's awesome. I think that's a cool story. That's a great way to bring a character back. I'm not sure which one I'll play. I'm not sure if I'll play either of them, actually, but I think it's very cool. And then a soldier token. Okay. No, I love that foil. The eternal question. Do you play the showcase non-foil or do you play the normal art foil? Most of the time you'd ideally get the showcase foil, but most of the time that's not what you draw. So then if you're stuck between those two, what do? I think in this case, I don't know, I showed you the art pretty close there. Ooh, actually her eyes glow a little bit. It's just hard to get the light right where you can like see what's going on there. I'm probably just going to go for the stained glass. But if she's cheap, I can buy another one for like $1 or $2. Maybe I will. Okay, these are all commons. Uncommons we've seen. LSL Core. Oh, King Darien the Solvi. Okay, so let's try this. If any of you know what that number is in Roman numerals, it's probably because you're a football person. But we know that I is 1, we know that V is 5, and we know that X is 10. L, I think, is 50. And I think in Roman numerals, if you put them out of order, like normally they go from largest on the left to smallest on the right, but if you put one out of order, like a smaller one to the left, then that means reduced by that much. So L is 50, X is 10, so I think it's supposed to be like minus 10. So XL, I believe, is 40. And then VII would be 5, 6, 7, 8. So I believe this is King Darien the 48th. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. So, colorless and a green and a white for a legendary creature human soldier. He's a 2/3. Other creatures you control get +1/+1. Just all creatures. That's great for a king. 3 green white, put a +1/+1 counter on King Darien and create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. That's pretty good. 5 mana is kind of a lot, but like it'll be a 2/2 in your deck and it's repeatable with no restrictions. That's kind of nice. And then you can sacrifice King Darien. Creature tokens you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Wow, what a guy. That sounds like the best king they've ever had. He's so benevolent. He even sacrifices himself to save his tokens. That's a cool card. And it's a rare? Oh, well, that's why I didn't have the stained glass one before. It's a rare. Ooh, Nomada, Primeval Warden. That's also really cool. I was just talking the other day about how like we could use a good green-black tree folk commander. Just green-black. And we got one, but it doesn't actually care about tree folk. It is a tree folk, but it actually cares about sapperlings. That's pretty good. 2 black-green for a legendary creature tree folk. It's got reach, of course, as a lot of tree folk do, because it's very tall. It's a 3/4. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. When you do, create a 1/1 green sapperling creature token. That ability alone just totally wrecks some decks. And then, usually the answer to a really nasty graveyard hate effect like that is, you gotta kill it, but it's your commander. So it's gonna come back, probably. So you really hope to draw like your oubliette against this guy. But then, green, sacrifice a sapperling, Nomada, Primeval Warden, gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and for colorless and a black, sacrifice 2 sapperlings, draw a card. Guy's got card draw, guy pumps himself, makes tokens, wrecks your opponent's graveyard, even blocks flyers. He slices, he dices, he julienne fries. Yes! Okay, we got a foil Balmor Battle Mage Captain. Okay, I'm definitely going to have to brainstorm this in earnest. This is the version of Balmor that I was hoping to get. Didn't think the odds were great. The odds aren't great, but I did get it. So, once again, this is not like a busted, overpowered commander, but, I played against some players the other day who were, in one case, like, not the most experienced, in another case, they were kind of, goofing around a little bit. They, they weren't playing, the most high-powered, the most high, that kind of stuff. It's fine. It's a little more casual than even my casual, where I don't like infinite combos, and I don't like land destruction, I don't like stacks and stuff. So that's fine. I mean, I've been playing this game a long time. I've spent a lot of money on it. But I felt a little bad that I kind of wanted to bring it at a lower power level. And I thought that I could, but I kept on stomping them anyway. Like, my decks got a little lucky. They got a little mana screwed and stuff, but maybe Balmor will be more fair? I don't know. I said that about Wilson and the Flaming Fist, and then I stomped him really bad with bears. It was... Anyway, glad to get Balmor. He's really cool. And a bird token. Hey everybody, thank you for sticking with me. We've got 3 packs left. We got 3 left from the set booster box, which has had some cool stuff in it. I'm still just really hoping for Shieldred. I've got a place for, and like trying to buy her, it would be a real pain. I really don't want to have to do that. Oh, I'd love to get more of these, by the way. I'll probably have to buy some of them, though. Mountain. Not Hazazon specifically, although he's cool, too. Phyrexian Ranger is a classic and still kind of good. Or could you control the Scry 1? Not bad. Essence Scatter, played in Unlimited, probably not good anywhere else. Mangoth Sentry, pretty bad. Balduvian Berserkers, pretty bad. Knight of Dusk's Shadow, 2 mana, 2/2, Human Knight with Menace. Your opponents can't gain life? 2 mana, gets +1/+1 until end of turn. That's kind of good, especially in the Night Tribal kind of deck. The love song of Night and Day, I believe was on a lot of flavor text back in the day, back in, Mirage, Vision, something like that. And now the card comes out, and the main thing that it does is you and target opponent each draw 2 cards. Other than that, it does some pretty minor stuff. It's not terribly exciting, honestly. Balmor. Hey, now I've got every version of Balmor. Well, no, I could get the normal art with foil, but this is the normal art. I've got the stained glass art. See, I did it again. And I've got the foil stained glass art. Cool. Baird in the stained glass again. Joyra, Ageless Innovator. Well, that's cool. I tried building a Joyra deck before and it was broken as hell and really annoying, and I dismantled it. But this is very different. It plays one big thing on a regular basis. But you could proliferate the ingenuity counters and stuff. So could be good, could be strong. I mean, it's 2 mana for a 2/3 on top of everything else. So yeah, it seems good. Oh, interesting. We have here the Archangel of Wrath. 2 white for a creature angel with kicker black and or red. It's a 3/4 flying lifelinker. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, it deals 2 damage to any target. And when enters the battlefield, if it was kicked twice, it deals 2 more damage to any target. So this is like 2 shocks on a pretty good angel, and those being options are pretty great. I heard some people speculating that this could be really good in Standard. Also, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but most of the Dominarian angels are actually references to legendary angels from the past, whether it be Avacyn or... not Avacyn. I don't know. But Archangel of Wrath is the one that is a reference to Akroma. Akroma has that sword, the Sword of Vengeance, and Akroma has a purple cape. And Akroma, Angel of Wrath. So this is a reference to Akroma. And Akroma has protection from red and black. Akroma wishes she had lifelink. So in any case, I hear it's going to be good in Standard. I believe it. Is it going to be good in Commander? Well, I mean, basically I think if you can play it, then it's kind of good. But if you're playing somehow a Mardu Angels deck, this is the sickest thing. This is awesome. But you gotta be playing 5-color Angels at that point, I guess. You're playing maybe Morphon. I don't know. There's gotta be a deck for this. This is a really cool card. Oh, Beastie. Oh, and it's a 3/3 Beast. Those are always useful. With all the... Beast Withins people are playing and stuff. Nice to have a 3/3 Beast token on hand. Okay. Second to last pack. Oh. Well, we've got an art card signed by Braum, with an M, Braum, and it's Liliana of the Veil. I mean, if any art card in this set is worth something, it's probably that one. But I don't know if any of them are worth anything. So maybe it's not that one. Extinguish the Light. I mean, okay, so obviously we could get a Liliana of the Veil, and that'd be great. But I don't need that card. I don't even like that card. But if we get Shieldred, that's going to be great for me. Ellis, Ronus, Rona, Cut Down, Lagomos. Oh, Plaza of Heroes, right. I almost forgot about this card. Remember how we had like a day where we were talking about this is the best Commander land of all time. This is the next best thing to Command Tower. And I asked on a Twitter thread if this would be good in CEDH. And was it Playing with Power or... No, it wasn't Playing with Power. It was Play to Win. Play to Win was the Twitter account that was talking about it, and in one of their latest videos, they said, Plaza of Heroes, is it going to see play? Not really. They went into a lot of detail about a lot of different cards they thought might have a chance in CEDH, and they're like, is this going to be played in CEDH? No. Taps for colorless. You can tap it for 1 mana of any color, but you can spend it only to cast a legendary spell. You can tap it for 1 mana of any color among legendary permanents you control, and you can pay 3, tap it, and exile it to have target legendary creature gain hexproof and indestructible until its turn. So I think this is good in a deck that gets out your commander early and often. So I might play it in Wilson and the Flaming Fist, or... I don't know. I'm probably going to play it in some deck, I just haven't figured out which one. So in any case, I'm glad to have gotten it. And I got a foil, the only vampire in the set. But it's not a good one. And then a soldier token. And I'm on to my last pack. Plaza of Heroes, I'm happy to have gotten it. I definitely am. Because I looked at a list of all my commanders the other day and thought about all the cards in this set that would be good in them. And Plaza of Heroes, I put on the list for at least one deck. I think it might have been Wilson and the Flaming Fist. Plains, Yavimaya Sojourner is kind of bad. Tolarian Geyser is kind of good. Why haven't we seen a Tolarian Geyser today? 2 and a blue for a sorcery. Return target creature to its owner's hand as kicker of a white. Oh, sorry, you draw a card regardless of whether or not you pay the kicker. If you pay the kicker, you gain 3 life. So it's unsummon and draw a card, and you can kick it to gain 3 life. I mean, okay, it's a limited card again. Stall for Time, on the other hand. Hold on, let's take a look at this. 2 and a white for an instant with kicker, a colorless, and a blue. Tap up to 2 target creatures. If this spell was kicked, put a stun counter on each of those creatures. Draw a card. So keep in mind, if this was played in a white deck, it's 2 mana to tap 2 creatures and draw a card. That's nuts. In just white? Look, people underestimate sometimes the old instant that taps 2 creatures, but I've been winning limited events off of cards like this for over a decade. You simply have a good board and your opponent has a good board. You come to the good old board stall, like what happens every tournament that you're in, that you don't have like a lot of evasion. Granted, this is blue-white, you have the best colors for evasion, but whatever. You know, you get out what would be lethal if only your opponent didn't have so dang many blockers. And then you get this, and you're like, oh, hey, guess what? You don't have as many dang many blockers as you thought you did. You tapped how many you thought you were going to need to protect yourself against me. You maybe even kept 1 extra open in case of a removal spell while I took away 2 of your blockers, and now you're dead. And if that's not the case, you can also use it defensively to save your bacon by tapping 2 of their creatures that would attack you. And once again, even if you can't kick it, you draw a card in white. If you can kick it, then you just buy yourself another turn. So I think this card's excellent in limited, probably good in standard. In other formats, in Commander, I mean, I don't know. People don't play combat tricks, really. People play better creatures. They don't get board stalled so much, so I don't know. Combat Research. I don't remember this card. For a blue, it's an aura with enchant creature. Enchanted creature has, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. As long as enchanted creature is legendary, it gets +1/+1 and has ward 1. Oh, this seems kind of nice. I'm sure there are decks that want that. Prayer of Binding. Enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent opponent controls. Until this leaves the battlefield, you gain 2 life. It's got flash. I mean, it seems fine. Just only gets... Oh, actually, seems kind of good. Okay. Shalai's Acolyte. See what I was talking about? How there's angels that are like referencing other legendary angels, but these ones aren't angels. So Shalai's main thing is that it gives you and other creatures you control hexproof. This doesn't do that. So Shalai's Acolyte did not learn the right lessons. She learned some lesson about putting +1/+1 counters on your creatures and having green involved, and that was the wrong lesson to learn, because it's the other lesson that's good. Strength of the Coalition. Finally get one of these. It's a green for an instant with kicker 2 and a white. Target creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If this spell is kicked, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. This is one where the first part isn't really worth putting in any deck ever, really, but the second part makes it worth it in some decks. Probably not, though. Honestly, the 4 mana for all that, probably too much. Rona, that's cool. Oh, I got a second blue Defiler. I got all the Defilers, and I got a foil Jaya's Firenado. Oh, and my list card is actually kind of cool. In fact, I think this is actually a somewhat valuable uncommon, because they haven't reprinted it since, like, Odyssey or something. Although I really wish that the list had actual updated rules text. I really wish it didn't say enchant creature. I wish it said enchantment aura with enchant creature. And whenever enchanted creature is dealt damage, its controller puts that many 1/1 squirrel creature tokens into play. I do like this card. You put it in Squirrel Tribal deck, and it does some fun stuff. Also, you can enchant one of your opponent's creatures, or you can enchant whatever creature you want in a green-red deck, and then Blasphemous Act or something. It can do some fun stuff. Anyway, gosh, that was a long video, even just as a part 2 to an already long video. And I got a bunch of pretty cool stuff. I didn't get the biggest, baddest, most amazing thing ever, but honestly, this is, I think, pretty typical of box openings in real life. You can go on YouTube and you can search up people opening foil Borderless Liliana or something, and I didn't get that. But you know what? That's not the realistic booster box opening experience. The professor will show you the realistic booster box opening experience. He'll play the booster box game, and he'll lose. On this set, he'll probably do it, and he'll lose. He does it on collector booster packs, he might do alright. Especially if he gets a card from Legends. But I didn't. And odds are he won't either, and odds are you won't either. I also found this box for $20 cheaper at one store than I found at another store in my hometown. So I got it there. So shop around, look for the best prices. Keep in mind that anytime that you're buying a box, you are... anytime you're buying packs, you're gambling. And anytime that you buy a box, you're just kind of buying lottery tickets in bulk. And yes, you do end up with a lot of bulk. This is all the commons that I just opened here. But you saw there are some commons in this set that I like, and I'm going to play. I'm going to play this one, for instance. And others, I don't know if I'm going to like them tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to need them for the next set when they make all Phyrexian creatures cost 1 less to cast, and now I have to look at the 2 mana 1/1s. Whatever. I like having a big collection and just having a good chunk of cards from every set, and I can always be like, hey, that old card from that other set that I collected a bunch of now is relevant. Let me go find it. So I'm going to do that, and I'm overall happy with how this went. I'm especially happy with finding 3 or 4 of the cards that I wanted most, including these Defilers. So, with that, I hope to see you again, perhaps when I open some Secret Lairs, perhaps when the next big set comes out. I also have a lot more free time these days, so but I don't have more money. So I may start going into more of a podcast style of video going forward. I obviously have a lot to say about the game. I've been playing it a long time. Might start doing some deck techs or some strategy videos, stuff like that. You never know. I haven't got it nailed down in stone, but if you made it all the way to the end here, feel free to comment on if any of that would seem interesting from a guy like me. You know the way that I talk, the way that I think, and I certainly have a lot to say. So any of that you'd like to hear, let me know. I'd be happy to make